Where's the love? Where's the love? It's right here in the heart of the city. I'm Silas Grant, and I got my man with me, OTL. What's up?
Sir, what's up, Joe?
Tony Lewis, man. What's happening?
Good, man. 45, man.
45
Yeah,
now,
I was
man.
45 the last time we recorded.
Yeah.
Bro, you know what I'm saying? We gotta, man. You know what? They doing a whole military parade for your birthday. Slim.
Right.
That's all right.
Right,
Man.
that's all right, right? Thank you, Mr. Trump.
That's all right, man.
Yeah,
But
man.
Yeah, you coming up on
June
your
14th,
B-Day, bro. It's all right, man.
It feels good, man. It's funny, right? So I'm teaching a class this week up at Trinity, a professional development class for 18 to 24-year-olds.
Okay.
And in preparation for the class, man, I was just doing some math. And I got this saying in all my classes, nobody's good at math till it's time to get paid.
Yeah.
Right? And I always do that with the classes. And I did the math, and I was like, man, you've been an adult now 28 years. If you multiply that by 365, right, you get like 10,220. And then if you looked at every day, the most valuable time of your day, right, where you're most vital, like maybe it's 10 hours. If you multiply that 10,220 times 10, that's 102,000 hours, right? And I was like, I've had 100,000 hours of adulthood. And then the question becomes, what do you show for it? And then on the front end, as I'm teaching this 18 to 24-year-old crowd, how do you prepare for the 100,000?
Yeah.
So that was a real thing that's been on my mind the last 3 days or so, just that 100,000 hours and how you use it. And the fact that most of us, if hypothetically you were given 100,000 hours, you would consider it to be consecutive. But we talked about in the class the cumulative, how you get pieces of it, but it adds up.
Yeah.
And so for those of us that say, I don't have time, well, when you look back in your mid-40s, you've had 100,000 hours of vital time.
And what's crazy about, damn, man, that is the most valuable thing there is.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, so many times we don't actually, I think, maximize the time, and then it even, particularly in the sense where we don't really know how much time we have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to that point, me and Doc was kind of talking off camera prior to the show, just about my neighbor, about Miss Sadie.
Yes.
I want to take time to say rest in peace to Sadie Boone, man, a longtime neighbor, a staple on Hanover Place, who passed away this week, and at 81. But but the timepiece for me was also just in regards to her son who been away, that didn't make it back, and so with all the things that be going on in terms, again, what we do, our decisions, and maximizing time, time is not to be taken for granted, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you don't get it back. I think that's the thing. And we talk about that a lot, though, just in general, about doing what we can while we can do it, and living life to the fullest. I think the foundation of that a lot of times is that understanding that, you don't know how much time you got.
And one of the kids put me on the spot. He was like, well, what would you do basically with the next 100,000, or what would you do if you were me? And one of the things I said to him is I'd probably do three things. I would read a lot. I would be able to teach what I'm learning, and then write out my thoughts to sort them out. And so I'm looking now like, okay, if God grants me another 100,000, hours of vitality each day, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Read, teach, and then sort my thoughts out and recycle it again. So, that's been on my mind the last 3 days for sure.
Going into 46.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I'm gonna get 45 more, bro.
Yeah.
But how you at your rate, you might get another 50.
I hope.
I
hope.
Yeah.
I hope, man. I think about my wife and daughter a lot, and just wanting to see them as long as I can, be around them. It's just so much fun being with them. So, yeah.
Real shit.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
We got a
Get right to it.
interview today, bro. We've been talking about, man, strategizing how we gonna get this guy here. Definitely our brother for sure,
for
right?
sure, no question.
But we respect and honor, you know what I'm saying, this brother, our brother, who he is and what he is, and not trying to like in his busy schedule, man. But I'm glad, you know what I mean, that we were able, you know what I mean, for him to bless us with his presence, take time away from all the things he got going on, all jokes aside, right?
Yeah.
And I think you know, one of the things before we get started and do official introduction, you know, some people have, you know, so many things, right? That they've done, that they do, they mean so much to so many people. There's a lot of people who fashion themselves in that way, but there's some people that's really that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys. One of the remarkable things, or the time that I've been, you know, blessed to know him, is the fact that no matter where you see him or what he's doing, he's showing up. And the audience be able to see that in this interview, but he shows up in a full way.
Yeah.
And that ain't easy to do. I'm talking about father, husband, you know, leader. You know, we can run all.
You gotta split the leader,
you know,
spiritual leader.
Yeah, spiritual leader.
Oh yeah, it's a whole lot. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Come on, man. But you know, right? We talking about doing barrier breakers, ceiling shatter, all them things.
Yeah.
And I ain't blowing smoke for real. I know I be joking a lot, but I've seen it. And make space for other people.
Yeah.
Right? Or make people who may be in a room that they supposed to be there, of course, right? But they might be a bit insecure about them being in that particular room, and he'll affirm them.
Yeah.
I've seen him do this. He'll affirm them in a way, right? It's not like it ain't even direct sometimes, but that person know that they're talking about, damn, he dog talking about me. That's right. Let me sit up. I belong here. Cause he here. I belong here.
Yeah.
So again, we super thrilled and blessed, man. Honored to have
It's my time to
Dr.
talk,
Roger Mitchell, man. You gotta let me do that.
Nah,
You deserve
man.
it of that, bro. I gotta do that because I mean it. Seriously,
Listen,
man.
y'all
We
talked
appreciate you
about me
being
like
here.
I wasn't here for like 5 minutes.
We had to.
Yeah, I love y'all so much, man.
love
Love you
back,
too,
Tony,
man.
Silas, man.
Talk, man.
Y'all are pillars of this community. Y'all pour into men, women, and children. Y'all save lives. And the fact that you've now curated a space to talk more about leadership, to talk more about manhood, to talk more about how community should show up, is something that everybody should watch, everybody should tune in, everybody should learn from. I'm in the heart of the city right now.
Yeah, here we go.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm in the heart of the city. I made it.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
That's where you went to.
You made it.
I made real talk. No matter what I've done or what I will do, you know, this probably is the most comfortable space that I'm ever in. Right?
Yeah.
When brothers that do the work, raise our families, love our community, can be in a room and talk about it, that's really the safest space that any of us are in. And in this day and time, man, we need to curate these spaces for ourselves, period. Absolutely. And not be apologetic about it. Right? We can't be apologetic about these spaces, about who we are, how we show up, who we love, what's important to us. And so you guys are creating a stage for that. And, you know, I just wanted to be a part of it, man. I like the couch, man. I wanted to be on the couch, man. This joint comfortable. I wanted to, you know what I mean, be in the building.
We have for real, Doc. Thanks for being
Yeah, now we appreciate you
man.
being
It's
here.
great to be here, man. Absolutely.
So when Tony's dad came home, the first time he and I had a conversation, one of the things I told his dad was, Tony, he is self-governed. And there are very few people, a lot of people have high character, but very few people are like totally autonomous when it comes to being self-governed. And Tony's one of the few people that I've met that's like that. Another one of the few people I've met like that is you. Where like there is nobody that has to come over and tell you what to do ever. It's always like it feels like you say the right thing at the right time. You always, like you said, affirm other people. I know a part of that you've probably been trained to do, and a part of it you've probably picked up along the way. But have you noticed that about your impact on people?
You know, that's a good question. I look to be impactful. but not the I part. If that makes sense. So if I could say the sentence without saying I, then that's the most impactful that I would want to be. It's really about, I'll be honest, man, it really roots into my fatherlessness, if I'm honest, right? Maybe that's what we share, right? Is that fatherlessness created in me this zeal to want to love and to want to support others that were hurting, right? No matter what.
Okay.
And so my father was crack cocaine addicted my whole childhood. And so the stories are the stories surrounding that, but it was that experience, and then going later in my 20s and going to get him, and bringing him out of substance use and abuse and helping him get back into community, is what freed me. But those experiences, that trauma can have an effect on you where you become selfless, and you're selfish in your selflessness, right? Like, I get something from giving to other people. And I think I know that about myself, is that I truly get something by sacrificing, by loving people, by bringing people into rooms, by being a conduit. And that's really what drives me, is how can I hold the door? How can I get by the door, hold the door, and get other people in the room, whether the room is for me or whether the room is for that person that I'm helping to get in the room. So, so that's kind of what drives me now, 50 years old. Y'all are talk about your 45, 46. I'll be 51 in this month as well. So at this age, I know why I'm here. I'm here to create pathways for other people. And so I'll use all my energy to do that.
So on that, I'm just saying about sort of your journey. Like, when did it hit you? Like, and of course, I mean, President Howard University Hospital currently.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Other roles that you've held, Deputy Mayor of Public Safety and Justice, the medical examiner for District of Columbia, and other titles that you've had.
Yep.
But what day you realize, like, and none of those roles are like, so it ain't too many people that have held any of those positions, right? You know what I'm saying? But like, what was it when it first occurred to you? Like, nah, you're a little different than everybody else, because I think it's not right. It ain't just because it's not always. It's like,
you do know that though, right?
Yeah, like, you just be probably being you, but for real, like, certain people, like certain things, it's like, you different, and that's okay and that's fine. But like, so what day? It was a 5th grade or kindergarten?
When I knew I was him, huh?
Yeah. You know,
that's me getting that.
Yeah. I mean, hip hop teaches you how to be him, right? I'm from hip hop culture. I'm from Jersey, and we were always aspiring to be that guy, right? I mean, it doesn't matter whatever we were doing, whether it was on the football field, whether it was in the classroom. But I remember it was 6th grade. So in 6th grade, they were having elections for the student government.
Okay.
And I was like, I want to run for the treasurer. I want to be the treasurer. The treasurer holds the money. I want to be the treasurer. Yeah. And one of the teachers was like, why you want to be the treasurer? You should run for president. I was like, I don't want to be president. I just want to deal with the money. She said, well, if you're president, you tell the person that has the money what to do with the money. Right? You run it all if you're president. I was like, man. So I scrapped my little sign that I was making with my picture and the bubble letters, and I made Roger Mitchell for president. 6th grade.
Yeah.
And I became president of the 6th grade.
And
then I ran for the president of the 7th grade.
Yeah.
I became president of the 7th grade. And then ran for the president of the school, of the middle school, became president of the middle school.
Right.
And right there was a trajectory of honing the leadership skill, right? Yeah. And so for young people that are able to see this, it's really about the practice of what, and honing and sharpening of some God-given talents.
Sure.
So I had the ability to be charismatic. I was quick. I was always quick. Got that genetically from my father. My father could sell you the shoes on your feet.
Yeah.
Right? So I knew how to hustle. I knew the hustle mindset. And so that charisma drove people to want to be better. And I used that to help people, help the situation. We wanted more candy in the school store. Right. So I used my charisma to get more candy in the school store, right? And people, because the people wanted more candy. I didn't necessarily want more candy in the store.
Right.
And so those early examples, although very minimal, those early examples of, that leadership acumen, I saw those things and how people responded to me. And as a fatherless child, how people respond to you is what you're going to try to do to get that reinforcement. Mm-hmm. And so that goes to my whole construct surrounding violence prevention and understanding. If you're reinforcing people to do whatever the activity is as a young person, that young person is going to continue to do that thing because of that positive reinforcement. And so I just was blessed to have that positive reinforcement in those leadership environments.
So it sounds like you've been on like a 35-year streak. That's what it sounds like. Almost 40-year streak.
Nah, I've had my failures.
Yeah.
Of course. I've had my failures. Yeah. I've had my failures. I've not succeeded at everything that I've done. I was a medical examiner in New Jersey before I was the chief medical examiner in DC. And that was my first medical examiner job, being the state medical examiner for New Jersey.
Right.
I did an okay job there. It was new, I did okay. Used God-given talents, didn't have a lot of resources.
Right.
Did some things, but I was better in DC. I was a better leader in DC than I was in New Jersey. I've been married 23 years. I'm a better husband than I am today than I was, year 5.
Yeah.
Year 5, I got upset because just to be upset.
Yeah.
But year 23, we're living a good life.
Yeah, how about that?
So many people have failures. We all do, right?
Yeah.
And you seem to have a grasp on what took place when you failed in various situations, but not everyone has the ability to make the shift. What are the things you think about following a failure that allow you to be able to shift and take that and harness it back onto the right path?
It's the perspective. It's the perspective of what really is a failure. Is anything really a failure? I use that term so that you could understand, but I don't use that term often because I use opportunity. So the word opportunity is what I substitute for failure. Mm-hmm. So what was the opportunity? What did I learn from that? How am I and I'm always looking to shift an opportunity. I'm anticipating the opportunity to do better, to be better. And so that, I'm able to articulate it now, again, at 50 years old. To your point, I've been in a lot of leadership roles in my career. And so now I am benefiting from the fact that in those moments, I took time to take stock of what happened. I've talked to my mentors. I've talked to the brothers that I keep close. I spoke to my wife. I talked to my mother. Before I make any decision and under every circumstance, that is an opportunity. So I think that it's important for leaders, successful individuals, to be mindful and to be intentional, right? You have to be intentional about your actions. You can't let things happen to you.
Yeah.
You got to happen to it, right? You have to impact it before it impacts you. And that's always been my mindset, is that I'm going to go after it. I'm going to push on it so that it doesn't happen to me. And I think that allows you to shift and not be a victim when things do happen, when you do lose a job or are about to lose a job, right? Yeah. When you do have to make shifts You're not looking and saying, oh man, look what happened to me, oh my goodness. You're saying, all right, what's the opportunity? Where can I go now? How can I shift?
What just in terms of the roles that you've had, what would you say, which role presented the sort of the most arduous challenges?
This role right here, being the president of Howard University Hospital.
Is that right?
Yeah, being a president of a hospital is a hard job. Because, you're in charge of the care of the most vulnerable. And you want to make sure that people are getting life-saving care on a regular basis. But I chose that, Tony. Like, I wanted to be on the other side of counting dead bodies on my autopsy table. Like, I wanted to be on the prevention side. I had for several decades, I was counting the cardiovascular disease deaths, counting the obesity deaths, counting the diabetes deaths, counting the falls, counting the gunshot wounds, counting the stab wounds. And an expert in counting.
Can I start this one? Can we please start this one? My apologies, but I gotta do this. I one of the things I think I never forget, probably one of the most profound things that I heard anyone say, and I don't get impressed easy. It wasn't even about being impressed. It's just things don't really shock me, right? Or I think I've heard everything, right? You know what I mean? We've been around a long time. But when we Pathways, we came to see you. And for everybody out there, Pathways is a program. Y'all hear us talk about reference pathways in different times in this program a lot. But it's a program aimed at, the city, people that are involved in gun violence, right? Let me just cap it there. But when you talked, in the same way, you talked about the different, he was asking us, like, how many people got shot or how many people got killed in the city, and you said, I seen all of them. I almost fell out the seat. I know that, right? That's your job. I know what your job is. But when you, and he was the chief medical examiner at the time, but when you said that, I was like, oh my God. Like,
seen them all, huh?
Do you know what I'm saying? I'm like, fuck. Like, and for the guys, I'm getting the point, that's the main point, to the guys, they heard that. And it was almost like, and I don't want to have to, I'm seeing you now.
Yeah, I don't want to see you on my table.
Man, that thing give me chills right now, and even, bro. Because
I don't want to see you on my table.
When we had that was like the first time we did, but then, obviously you started, when you were in that role, you was doing it, and we kept every class, and it that joint woke dudes up, like, but then it make, for us, and shout out to Maurice, he and I would talk like that, man. Doc, see everybody. Do you think about what he? I think we seen some shit, like, but come on, man. So when you said that, it just took me back there, bro. And just, again, like I always say, man, God bless you, because that's different. That's different. And that the point that you would really bring out that we know. And no disrespect, I mean, humanity is humanity, and I'm not disrespecting other chief medical examiners and people all across the country that serve in that role or whatever, but that you are tied to those people. You didn't see them as you.
That's why I was going to jump in and say that it is rare that you have people in that position that have a desire and the know-how to make the dots connect, to be able to talk to 30 or 40 individuals who may be potentially at risk and tell them, you could be on my table if you don't start making some different decisions.
Yeah. And that's the whole reason when we talk about cultural competency in medicine and healthcare delivery, when we talk about the debate that's right now on around DEI and A, what you just said, I'm able to connect to a community that I care for, the community that is getting my prescription, my form of medicine. That community is more apt to listen to my prescription, my way of solving the disease, and we're talking about violence right now, than maybe someone that has not come from that same culture. Mm-hmm. And that's built out in the literature. And that's why it's so important to make sure that Black and brown young people are able to get into medical school, That's why it's so important that at Howard University that we're producing black and brown physicians, because we know that those physicians are going to go back into communities that may be at more risk for whatever the disease process is, and from there be able to lead to better outcomes.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about, right? And so that's why I wanted to get on the other side.
Yeah.
I want to get on the other side. I said, man, if I can get on the other side, maybe I can use my leadership. Maybe I can use my know-how, my understanding as a physician, my understanding of community and how community is suffering. Maybe I can use that on the side of actually delivering healthcare. And so that's the intention. That's the intention out, and that's the man. You gotta be courageous. I was the interim deputy mayor for public safety and justice. I was the chief medical examiner of Washington D.C., the nation's capital, and I walked away from it.
Yeah.
To try to get on the other side of how we can save our people, without knowing whether or not I was going to actually get to the other side, right? And so if you're looking to be successful and you're looking to be a leader, there's a lot of risk in that. And that's why there's a lot of failure in it and opportunity in it. And so those that want to be successful, want to lead, you're going to have to risk and potentially risk it all so that you can follow that voice that God is giving you to carry out what he's calling you to do.
So you've been in a number of positions where you've been called on by the city, right? And it is not something that happens every day where people continuously get called back. And you've worked with public officials, elected officials, and they've trusted you at the highest level to serve in the highest positions. Walk us through what it's like to cross into those different roles and to build that trust with people who are really relying on you, not only to come through, but also come through to make them look great as well with the work that you've been doing.
Yeah. I think, the word that comes to mind is authenticity, right? To be authentic. Mm-hmm. But then also to be knowledgeable. When I was deputy mayor, my job was to be knowledgeable, to make sure that I had all of the information. Mm-hmm. And in having all the information, making sure that the mayor and the city administrator had all the information, and then give them options on what I think should happen with that information, and be at the table to be able to facilitate that. When I was chief medical examiner, one of the big things that I got credibility on was we were seeing a lot of elders fall and die secondary to their falls. And nobody was looking at these falls. I started looking at falls because I had done some work for the Centers for Disease Control on injuries of the elderly, started looking at them, created data sets surrounding elders falling, and then provided these data sets to the mayor and the Office on Aging, and we made changes in people's houses that decreased falls. That public health approach to forensic medicine, that public health approach to violence, I was one of the first that talk about the opioid crisis. Yeah. When the opioid started killing individuals, even before fentanyl was showing its head in D.C., I was tracking those deaths, keeping people abreast, and then we built out systems with behavioral health, with Department of Health, to decrease the deaths due to opioids. So it was never about, in my journey in government and even now, it's never been about, hey, look at me, I'm something. That's not ever the thing. It's what is it that we're trying to treat? What is it we're trying to prevent? And this is the best way to do that. It's really the object of improving the health and equity in our community that I think informs my relationships, right? It's the same thing with us, right? we have real relationships. We don't see each other every day. We don't talk to each other every day. But there's nothing about us being in this room that's not authentically
True.
who we are.
True.
And there's a level of trust in the conversations that we're having because we all three of us know that we're not trying to do anything other than create an environment for freedom for our people.
Hey, look, and then for anybody out there, your grandmother got that lift in her house or that rail on the banister, all that's, and sometimes it's like we just for people, like there are things that are available to residents of the city and stuff. People don't even think like with that, but that started
that
somewhere.
come from?
Yeah, you know what I mean.
And the one thing about this city is that you say whatever you want about our elected officials. There's a lot of people wanting to do the right things.
Yeah, true. I agree.
They want to do the right things. People may disagree with how they're doing it and what they're doing, but they want to do the right things. I've seen people here. I've been in rooms where I'm presenting things to individuals that have the levers of power, and they pull the lever of power based upon the information that they're getting, and it helps people. Yeah. And that's how you know a system works. It's not perfect, but engaging the system, engaging this government, the way you do it, whether it's inside or outside government, whether it's through protests, whether it's through the voting process, it's so important to engage it and force it to help us be sovereign individuals, help us to be self-determined.
Yeah, no doubt. And I was just, I definitely mentioned that because as just thinking about how many seniors that I know that have benefited from that, right? And also tying that to something you said earlier, I shifted to talking about specifically like gun violence victims. But when you were talking about from people died of falls or cardiovascular issues or any of the other things that you named, those probably more than likely were also black people.
Yeah.
You understand?
In this city.
In this city. In this city, right?
This city.
And so it's like the work and another synergy point for us all, obviously with King McDuffie being involved in that, but the NEAR Act and then with the rollout of that.
Safer, Stronger.
Safer, Stronger, and then the advent of ones or whatever the case may be, is that to the point though of leadership or actions or activism or whatever is not just to do it or to say, hey, look at me, right? It's about really creating change and moving the needle in a way in which people benefit.
But we did that, right? So we did, the NEAR Act. We've been at the table for all of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Whether it was the NEAR Act with Kenya McDuffie, whether it was the One's Office, whether it was Safer, Stronger. If you look at all the reports or find pictures of any of that, I'm at the table ushering in the issues of community, right? As well as the expertise of medicine and science and the public health approach.
And I will say this, this is not my opinion. I'm claiming this is fact, right? That had it not been for you and your expertise from the medical perspective, it gave a different level of credence, like, to things that, on the practitioner side of like, outreach or violence intervention or whatever we were set. But like when Dr. Mitchell is giving the data and connecting it to the larger ecosystem, and it's like, oh, Dr. Mitchell said it, let's go.
But it's an evolution though. It's an evolution. I sat at Al Malik Farrakhan's feet.
Yeah, man.
When I first came,
Al Malik,
shout out
to
I call him Dad. Yeah. Since my dad died, I call him Dad, right?
No question.
See what I'm saying? So I sat, when I first got here in the city and was trying to understand violence prevention and the ecosystem of violence prevention, I went and sat at his feet
Yeah.
for hours.
Yeah, with the right one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no question about it.
Yeah.
Don't
Cease fire.
Don't smoke the brothers and the sisters.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
I sat at his feet. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
Right?
A legend.
A
Yeah.
legend, and his
Undying
and his
love and
reunion,
respect.
his celebration. I think 30-year celebration is coming up. Right?
Yeah,
That's- yeah,
Be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on. So,
Yeah.
so that level of, so I can't sit here and be like, oh, because I flipped it and bounced it. It's a remix.
Yeah.
I took what the OGs had been doing, we were doing, and added what I had been studying, and added the relevance of medicine and science and public health on top of the things that we already know work in community,
Yeah, for sure.
so that we can get it funded
That's right. That's right.
and keep it funded and get it legislated and keep it legislated, right? And that's what it is. There's no go-go without jazz and R&B, right? There's no hip hop without go-go, and it's all the same genre, just different.
Yeah, continuation.
Right? So
Yeah.
I won't sit here and suggest that the things that we're doing in violence prevention, quite frankly, in medicine, science, all the things that I'm doing is somehow unique to me, because we stand on the shoulders of giants. There are giants out here that we stand on the shoulders of, all of us. And that intergenerational play is extremely important. Especially as we try to inspire the next generation to be ready to take over from us.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You took on that deputy mayor job for public safety and justice, right? At that point, you had been getting a lot done, and you were building a reputation, a brand for integrity, but also results, right? You take on that job, and I'll tell you what my first thought was when I heard. My first thought was not that I wondered if it was going to work, but I wondered how. Here's why. Your brand was so strong that I was questioning if you would be able to fit into the administration and still be you and still say what you feel and say what really is compelling you to speak and still maintain respect for the administration. So talk to us about what it means to have such a strong personal brand attached to results and still being able to mesh into a larger administration.
I think you're a journalist now. You asking these hard questions, right? And really insightful. I mean, I got to a point in my career. I was just finishing. I was about to finish the book "Death in Custody: How America Ignores the Truth and What We Can Do About It." Published by Johns Hopkins Press. It's my second book. It talks about the history of death in custody in this country and the importance of forensic medicine and some of the inconsistencies in how medical examiners and forensic medicine diagnose those that die at the hands of law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And I was just getting to a place where that was almost being done. And I knew that I wanted to do more death in custody consultations, because at that point I had written one of the Sentinel papers on how to deal with death in custody, how to diagnose it, and how to properly engage cause and manner of death surrounding it. And so I knew that I couldn't stay in government for too much longer. When I took the deputy mayor role, it was really, hey, we trust you. You're very close to the administration. You're a violence prevention expert. Come do this. But they knew I was leaving to go to Howard when I took it.
Okay.
So I was only in the deputy mayor spot for 6 months. Right. And then I moved on to Howard. But right when I moved on to Howard, the George Floyd trial was happening. The book came out, and I needed to be in an academic setting so that I could fully talk about the inconsistencies in the criminal justice system nationally and in the forensic medicine world nationally. So you have a great question, because I pivoted out of government because I knew that I had to say some things and be in places that may not be as conducive to being in any government, not just this government,
Correct. Yeah.
but any government.
Right. Yeah. Period. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and not put, people in a rough spot.
Right.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Because
You
of
should
what
represent more
I'm
than just your
saying
brand,
and
for
how
sure.
I'm saying it.
Yeah.
So I knew that about where my brand was going and, quite frankly, where my expertise was going. And now, I'm one of the country's leading expert in death in custody and forensic medicine. And
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say
I'm still
earlier.
working.
Yeah.
I was just trying to say that earlier. I mean, that's what we know.
You know what?
But
Don't do that, man.
No,
He
but-
asked me a question.
You're right.
know
But
what I'm
on
saying?
that, let me follow up to the death and custody piece though. Coming out of the state of Maryland, with I think it was 31 deaths that sort of got.
That got misclassified as not homicides, and they should have been
It
homicides.
should have been homicides.
So the story behind that is that I wrote the initial letter that got that audit. So when there was testimony in George Floyd, there was a forensic pathologist on that testimony that said that George Floyd didn't die from asphyxia. He could have died from carbon monoxide poisoning because his head was near the tailpipe of the car. I about lost my mind.
yeah,
I said, absolutely not.
right.
Absolutely not. So I wrote a letter. I penned a letter. It was an open letter. We had over 450 physicians and health providers sign the letter. It went to the Maryland's Attorney General at the time, and I asked for an audit of all his cases for his 17-year duration, and they opened that audit, and the results of that audit just came out about a month ago. That showed that about 40 cases were misclassified and should have been classified as homicides.
Man,
And so it's potential that those cases will be reopened.
reopen.
And I did that. I wrote that letter less than 2 months after I left the government. Question is, would I have wrote that letter
Yeah,
as the chief medical examiner of D.C.?
right.
Would I wrote that letter as deputy mayor of D.C.? Probably not.
Yeah,
Probably not. Right? Because you don't want to create an environment for your leader that has to answer, and you're critiquing
correct.
other jurisdictions. So the risk is you leave an organization so you can be free to do what you want to do, versus stay in the organization and blame the organization for what you can't do.
Yeah,
Risk it all.
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the things I say when I'm teaching leadership, I say, if you want to be an advocate, first thing you want to do is ask the question of what you want to see happen or not happen, right? I want to see this happen. I want to see that not happen. Then become the expert. One, figure out what you want to be an advocate for. Two, become the expert. Go to work, go to school, do whatever you need to do. Write papers, become the expert. Third, use your voice. Make sure you don't bury your voice, use your voice. And then really the fourth thing that you have to do if you want to be an advocate is that you have to be willing to risk it all.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. People will say, I don't like this. People will become the expert and pontificate. People will use their voice, but not many people are willing to risk it all.
For sure.
One of the things that I've noticed about you is that you could easily stick your chest out way more, and you guys have been going back and forth and teasing you about not doing that, right? You have a level of like groundedness that's not normal either. I'm assuming that comes from your studies in the faith, being ordained, right, as a minister, and giving the word officially from the pulpit. But I'm wondering, how that influences how you move as well.
Yeah, that's good. I'm preaching this Sunday, y'all, Father's Day.
Okay.
I know I'm probably not supposed to say Father's Day because it's tape, but
Yeah.
this Sunday, please
Okay.
come out.
Okay.
All right, at New Bethel,
Yeah.
9:15
Knife and
service,
Ness.
Father's Day, 9 Finesse.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dexter Nuttall, my pastor.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like none of it's given to me, man. I mean, none of it is it's all given to me by the Creator.
vessel.
Yeah, it's all it's all given to me. I'm not special. Because again, one of y'all could be in the seat and we could be interviewing you about how many lives y'all saved, how many people y'all are helped. We could be talking about that. I just happen to be on the couch, talk. So it's him. It's him. And let me tell you something. When you realize that it's a gift from God, and that you want to be constantly connected to him and constantly saying yes to his will, then all of this, anything that comes, that without him, there is nothing. And so all the titles don't mean anything. And that's one of the reasons why he had me leave the government. He said, you're getting too used to these titles.
Yeah.
You like these titles. You like how people respond to you because they call you deputy mayor and chief medical examiner. You like that. All right, I need you to leave that. I need you to leave that. Go, I'll give you another title because you like titles. And he's still messing with me. I said, I've been collecting titles. I got a couple more titles since I left the medical examiner. He's still talking to me like, yo, you still trying to collect titles? I'm about to strip all that from you. So the humility is one that is not based in what other people think about me. My humility is that I got to stand in front of the Creator when he tells me what to do and how I need to move. And he reminds me. He reminds me that I'm his.
Along those lines, right? Because that, to me, that sounds like he is what we know him to be, a comforter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I thought back to was the election cycle in 2022, when you were one of the co-chairs of Kenyon's campaign for at large.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the campaign office that day when we were getting ready for the day. And I remember Kenyon saying, like, yeah, Doc's riding with me today. And you rode around with him to the different sites. And I've seen you play that role for people like Siraj. I've seen when you in the room, how it changes how he feels about the room. So many people you provide comfort for in a physical form. Is there somebody in the physical form that serves that role for you?
Wow. I have some brothers. I mean, I have some brothers. I play a good second chair. I carry water. I mean, you've picked that up. I like carrying water for other brothers. I do. Especially brothers that I love and respect, and I think that, like, I will carry water for you, and because it's nothing. I do have brothers that I have a handful of brothers that I love, that I rely on. Have I had anybody armor bear me like that? Probably not.
Mm.
Yeah.
Probably not. I don't have anybody that. No, there's one brother that has done that for me as of late. His name is Shama King. Shout out to Shama King.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know Shama?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
but
this brother, he's a young brother that has armor bared me as of late, probably for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's probably the one.
He holding you down. He our brother too, so that's why.
Yeah, straight up.
Shout him out.
Yeah,
He holds me down. He has held me down in many circumstances when I needed something. So yeah.
Everybody needs that. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
And I feel like
as I think about it,
But
yeah.
But like.
Yeah.
But one of the things, and I ain't, I think we all can identify with this too, is like, when you mission driven, man, you on your path, man, you got that partner with you, and I seen you and your wife, in all different settings. Man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I recognize it because I got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if we talk
about
about
quiet storm, but be right there, and but you already said it though. You said like that's. You said talk to my wife, talk to my mom.
Yeah.
So like.
But shout out to my wife.
Oh
though.
yeah,
For sure.
man.
I mean,
for sure.
shout out if we talking about. Listen, that's the that's the rock, B. Like that's that's the one who when she sees all my uncertainty.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, how about that?
She sees all my frailty. All my, I could sit here and be hip hop and act like it's all that, but she sees me worry.
Yeah.
She sees me worry. She's the one that tells me it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that right there is huge. I would be nothing without that one.
And that, I was gonna ask.
Nothing.
You kind of gave us your process of making your decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you calculating risk, or you thinking about pivoting and changing and making a shift, and you go to, that tight knit group of people,
That's it.
wife, moms, mentors that you mentioned.
Yeah.
What happens when you saying I want to go left and they saying no, I think you should stay right? How do you then? What happens in that moment?
Yeah.
Or does that happen? Maybe
No, it
y'all
does.
always alone.
It
Okay.
does. It does happen. It does happen. It does happen. I often hear, "Hold up," right? And that's why I'm not doing as much as I. That's why I'm not doing as much as I probably could be doing. Yeah, because they keeping me in check from all the other things, right? But yeah, I listen.
Yeah, because the risk it
What
all
happens? I listen.
Cool. Because when I'm hearing you, because sometimes like when you're talking about the risk it all, right? To take the steps, take the leaps. Sometimes the when people hear that, the default is automatically, and in some cases it is that way, where it's like, yeah, literally we gonna risk it all for certain causes. Like I'm willing to put it all on the line. But for men like us and other leaders, not just men, but sometimes doing what we do for others can sometimes put home at risk.
Yeah.
And that's something we all, I feel like
Yeah.
I always try to
Yeah.
keep that in front of me,
That's
man.
right.
Because it's so easy to sort of, we be calling ourselves risking it all for the community, but we risking it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, and people will just pull on us as long as it'll get as much from us as they can, never stopping to think, well, like, man, so how have you been able to strike that balance?
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, I call self-care is not selfish. And you can't pour from an empty cup. Those are the mantras that I have in my head. And my house is my first ministry.
Yeah.
So I'm at the track meets with my son. I'm at the musical plays with my other son. I'm talking to my daughter about her pre-med and making sure she's gotten what she's getting. I'm loving up on my wife and taking her out on trips. I take time with my family.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely, 100%. My family, my loved ones, I celebrate with them, and then I work hard for community, right? But yeah, I prioritize my family because that's the most important thing. So you're right. You got to have that balance. And work-life balance is cyclical. It's not a destination. It is a journey. And so you might be in a very busy time now. Just know that later you're going to have to not be, right? It might be a week that you're grinding.
Yeah.
It might be a month. It might be a year. Seasons happen. They come and go. So you have to make sure that you're taking the time and really feel it. So the other day, I was feeling a lot of pressure the other day, right? There's a lot going on. I'm feeling the pressure. So yesterday, I said, I'm taking a half day. And I went to therapy, went to stretch therapy. I go to Stretch Loft, and shout out to Stretch Loft.
Oh yeah, I've been there before.
And I got stretched out. I was like, I'm good now, because I had to listen to my mind and my body. I wasn't going to be able to be functional in making decisions and being present because the stress had built up a bit. I felt it, so I went and got rid of it. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's very important for us, no matter who you are, to be able to strike that balance with the work, with the house, with your physical, with your mental, because I want to be here for my great grands.
Yeah, no doubt. And speaking of, like, there's a lot going on at work right now.
Yeah.
so today that Adventist is in Howard University have made a decision to amicably split
Yeah.
and go in a different direction.
Yeah.
And so you guys are moving in a direction where you're gonna have to find a new partner, right, with the hospital, which I know is not necessarily gonna be an easy thing. So as you strategize on, next steps and how to do that and what to do, like walk us through, because Silas says a lot here that we really view Heart of the City as somewhat of a master class on leaders, right?
Yeah.
So that's your current issue or opportunity, right?
That's right.
But for people that's out there that has an opportunity that has sort of the same gravity in their lives, like what's your advice for them?
Well, I mean, know that any type of transition, any type of merger, any type of acquisition, any type of movement of an organization from one place to another is not going to be done just by the leader, right? So the leader requires the people around that leader. So I require my C-suite, my other people. There's people in the room with us today, Tony Blue and Khalif Alder.
Shout
Shout out to my PR team, right? That helped me navigate the waters, right? And so I think it's important for when you have to make big decisions and big moves as a leader that you bring your team as close as possible, that you're communicating with your team, that you let your team lean into their strengths. Because when you got to lift this table, you want to make sure all four corners get lifted. Otherwise, it's going to be a burden on you. So that's the thing that I think is the big thing for anybody that's has a big thing. And the good thing is, I'm a half full type dude. If you've been around me, no matter being a forensic pathologist and having to deal with death, and tell people and turn death into something that we can learn from, which has really been my career. You learn how to be half full, right? And so this opportunity for Howard University to continue to mature into one of the best healthcare delivery systems is limitless now. Not that Adventist was limiting, but Adventist has brought Howard up for the season that it's been here. And then Howard can continue to go, whether by itself for a little bit or with another partner. And so there's a great opportunity for us to continue to do what we're doing. We got 28 clinics that provide phenomenal health care. A lot of people don't know we have one of the best black skin experts in the country that is at Howard University. We have some of the best plastic surgery in the country. We have an eye doctor that is a master at cataract surgery with new laser technology. We have minimally invasive gynecological surgeons that are providing support for women's health. We have a new robotic prostatic surgeon that is helping men with prostate surgery. All at Howard University Hospital, all at Howard University faculty practice plan. And a lot of people think of Howard University as a place, hey, if you get shot or you get stabbed, go to Howard because they know how to save you, right?
Yeah.
And we enjoy that in the sense that we're a level 1 trauma center. Right. But if you have anything that's wrong, we want to be your healthcare provider. And that's really where we are, and excited about the quality of healthcare that we're providing. So that hasn't changed. That won't change. But for leaders that have to manage these types of transitions, it's important for you to lean on your team and make sure your team has a place at the table as you're elevating the process. And so, again, your followers and those that are listening to the podcast, go on to huhealthcare.com. You can learn, you can find a provider, you can find exactly what type of healthcare you want, and you can even donate. We put a new donate button up there. Because what's important is, especially in this day and time when Medicaid is being challenged, when we're trying to make sure that we can continue to provide care for those that may not be able to afford it, it's important for us to raise dollars. Raise dollars in a way that ensures the vitality of our organization. A lot of people don't know we started as Freedmen's Hospital. Y'all know,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
Yeah.
1862. Probably there's somebody in your families that was born in Freedmen's,
For sure.
right? And now it's Howard University Hospital. But we've been providing this care since 1862. We've been providing care to the disenfranchised, to this community. And so go on huhealthcare.com, hit the donate button, throw a couple dollars in there, and know that you're helping somebody get care.
Yeah.
Especially in this time.
Especially now.
Especially this time.
That's right.
Man, Doc, we appreciate you for being on with us. And I want to say personally, again, as you mentioned, we don't talk every day, but whenever I see you online or whenever we're talking in the group chat that we're in, just seeing you and knowing your presence is there makes a difference.
Appreciate that.
And you pour into so many people, and it's our thought and prayer that you're getting that same sort of service back to you so that you can continue having these magnificent results that you've been able to create
Well,
over
this
a
is
number of
that.
years. Yeah.
This is that for me.
I got
If I was empty when I walked in, I'm full now.
All right.
And
That's
you know,
good.
That
Good,
type
good,
of love,
good.
the love that y'all poured on me,
You know, we love you,
man, it means a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys as always for watching Heart of the City. We are growing the following. People are starting to really, really chime in, and I'm hoping that we can continue this momentum. Thank you again, Doc, for being with us. Again, make sure to go to Howard University's hospital's website, make a donation, utilize the services. Let's keep our people healthy and happy.
Peace and love, man.
Peace.